It's easy to love good food, but a lot harder to make it. Welcome to Plates and Pints, where I drink beer and show you how to make delicious food. Since it's my first video, I thought I'd start off with my favourite beer, Guinness. It's a dry Irish stout, but it's so much more than that. Creamy, smooth and absolutely gorgeous. It's best fresh from the tap, but during lockdown, a can is good enough for me. In true Guinness fashion, we're pouring half, waiting for it to settle, getting a bit impatient. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so we're pouring the rest, banging out the bubbles, and enjoying. You can tell it's my favourite beer because after the first sip, I make this noise. I had a big meat-filled barbecue over the weekend, so in the spirit of reducing our meat consumption and saving the planet, we're doing our lasagna veggie style. It's comprised of 3 layers, starting with the sauce. For this I'm using 2 courgettes, 1 white onion, 3 bay leaves, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 tins of chopped tomatoes, some dried oregano, about 400 grams of chestnut mushrooms and 300 ml of veggie stock. Let's get going. We're first halving, peeling and chopping the onion, making sure to keep the ends and the skin, which I'm going to deposit into my tin full of vegetable trimmings, and once this gets full I'll use it for homemade vegetable stock. Next we are topping and tailing the courgettes before slicing into little half moons. And really importantly, don't forget about your Guinness. Take a nice big sip before continuing. Now we're going to peel, crush and mince our garlic, and a really easy way to do this is with the flat of your knife and give it a big and then just a little chop to make sure it's minced. Now we are slicing up the mushrooms, making sure they're not too thin, otherwise they'll get all mushy during the cooking. Put them in a large bowl and move over to the stovetop. So we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a hot non-stick pan, adding our onions, sauteing for about 2 minutes until translucent, then adding our garlic and cooking for about 30 seconds or until that nice garlicky smell fills your kitchen. Add the courgettes and the mushrooms, make sure everything is mixed together nicely and add a little more olive oil if things are looking dry. Season with a pinch of salt. I know this looks like a very crowded pan, but both mushrooms and courgettes release loads of water during cooking. So in about 10 minutes they'll shrink down from this to this. Add the chopped tomatoes, give it a stir to mix everything around. Then a generous shake of oregano, the 3 bay leaves, and last but not least, the stock. Give it all one last stir before bringing to a simmer and cooking for about 30 to 45 minutes, stirring every 10. The bechamel is really simple. All you need is 50 grams of plain white flour, 50 grams of butter, 750 ml of milk, a bit of nutmeg, and a few handfuls of cheddar cheese, which I forgot to show. Heat the butter in a large saucepan until melted. Take note of the fact that I'm now wearing an apron because I forgot to put it on at the start. Then add the flour and whisk constantly until a smooth, almost batter-like substance forms called a roux. Cook this out for a couple of minutes, whisking constantly until the raw flour smell has disappeared, making sure to scrape around the edges so nothing burns. When your roux starts to look smooth, drop your whisk and walk off dramatically. Add your milk very slowly, still whisking to avoid lumps until you reach a smooth yet slightly watery sauce. Put this on a low heat and reduce for about 10 minutes, whisking every so often. Think about adding your cheese, eat some, then add the rest of the pot. Kill the heat, stir till it's all melted, velvety and delicious. Don't forget to occasionally stir your tomato sauce, otherwise it may stick to the bottom of the pan. Add a grating of fresh nutmeg to the cheese sauce, taking care not to drop the nutmeg in. Fish it out with a spoon. Season with some sea salt and some freshly ground black pepper. Give it one last whisk to combine everything and you have your bechamel. Easy. At this point you can take your tomato sauce off the heat and it should look something like this. A good way to know it's done is if you drag a spatula through it, you should be able to see the bottom of the pan. Finally, the pasta. Now, fresh pasta is always better, but the dried stuff works just fine. I'm using gluten-free lasagna sheets because both my mum and sister are celiac. Just bring a pot of heavily salted water to a boil, add the sheets one at a time so they don't stick together and cook for 4 to 5 minutes. Now you should have a lid on here I don't be like me. Check they're a little soft, and it might seem like short cooking time, but don't worry, they're going to finish cooking in the oven. Drain the pasta, and now it's layer building time. In an oven-proof lasagna dish, we are first ladling a base of tomato sauce, followed by the pasta, then some cheese sauce, and repeating this order until our dish is full. Sauce, pasta, cheese, sauce, pasta. Now you want to finish with a cheese layer, so you get that beautiful golden bubbly cheese topping after its 30-minute stint in a 180 degrees Celsius oven. Take it out, leave it to cool for 10 or 15 minutes, admire the fruits of your labour with a close-up, then cut yourself a heaping, steaming portion of rich, cheesy, tomato-y deliciousness. Maybe a little more. This was meant to be dinner for my family, but I'm going to dig in. Can you really blame me?